You're listening to another episode of the Fredericksburg Strong podcast. This is a local forum to inform and entertain our community, discuss local news, promote small businesses, and celebrate our hometown heroes with a little dose of humor to keep you entertained. Our mission is simple: to keep Fredericksburg strong. Today's podcast is powered by Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai of Fredericksburg. And now, here's your host, Tim Pohanka.
Hey everybody, it's Tim Pohanka, and I couldn't be more excited. This has been one I've been looking forward to. Talking to you, because you normally talk to me. And Dee Daniels.
Hey.
I get to talk to you, and people get to see you, which is normally, your voice is entering everyone's morning and waking them up, and I think we all appreciate that.
Thank you.
We get to see you now and talk to you, and I get to ask you the questions.
This is fun, being on the reverse.
And hopefully it's fun. I mean, it's going to be fun. I know it's going to be fun for me.
Yeah.
So I want to get into it because one of the first things that I've always wondered is how did you get your start in radio? Is it something you were thinking about when you're younger, like, oh, yeah, I woke up and I want to be on the radio, or, let that fire?
It's a great story, actually, because I had zero interest in getting into radio. I didn't even really know what it was about. I knew that I wanted to go into, I was a late teen, and I thought, I want to go into the criminal justice system.
Okay.
Somehow.
Okay.
And I did that because my dad's youngest brother was unfortunately killed when he was 18 in a very bad DUI car accident. And his friend got killed too in the car. And we went through the system in that process, and I just felt I felt bad for everyone involved. I felt bad for my family. I felt bad for just everyone involved. There was another vehicle involved too, and it was a lot. And it was just, I thought, oh, this could be better. All of this whole system could be better. They could handle victims better. They could handle things better. And I thought, the best way to do that is get involved, and do something about it. So I started going to school for that, and criminal justice administration. And once I got into that, I started learning that the basis of reform within that was communicating with people in a better way.
Okay.
So once I started taking communication classes, I learned I really loved that part of it. And I was like, oh, this is fun. This is learning how to, navigate conversation with people in a way that not only could you get empathy from them, you could give empathy to them, you could kind of see where they were coming from, walk in their shoes, ... And in that process, I had been in school for a little while, and I think long enough where my mom said, could you get a real job while you're still living at home? Yes, I should do that.
So you're the right. Advent of the millennial, huh? Living at home.
I don't know what happened, but I just got too excited, I think, with my part-time job and school. And she was like, there are other things. So at the time, one of my teachers, her husband was a general manager at a radio station in Chester, Virginia.
Okay. And
a little cluster of AM stations and one FM station. And she said, why don't we call them and see if they've got some part-time something you could do. And I'm like, that would be kind of cool. And so I called them. They did. They had something. I started in the office, and I was working the front desk, and one day I had lunch with the program director, just happened, same time, same kitchen, and he's like, you have a really nice kind of natural tone for radio. Would you like to give it a shot? And I was like, ooh, no. I've never even been back in the studio. This is weird. I changed the trash can once, and that was all I did. And he was like, no, you should give it a try. So I was like, okay. So on a Sunday afternoon, he was like, come in on a Sunday. I'm going to train you how to run the soundboard. I'm going to train you how to do some things. I ran a baseball game that we were airing, and I had to talk once in between games and play 2 songs. Now, at the time, we were still...
So what were you saying in between these games?
So the only thing, I could only talk for 20 seconds. It wasn't like I had any time, but I wrote it out because I wanted to figure, I didn't want to mess it up. I got 20 seconds one shot.
I mean, what could you do wrong in 20 seconds, right?
So I had to say my name and the station, identification, and then, you're listening to, and we're going to play this game next, and here's this song.
Okay.
And now
so your generic stuff.
Yes, totally generic.
You weren't having to go, oh, what a great game.
No, nothing.
This
no
was just
commentary.
Okay.
Read it off the card. You have one job.
One job.
Read it off.
Read this line. That's all you got to do.
You need to do. So I wrote it down. I had it in front of me, and this will date me. At the time we were still playing records.
Okay.
We were just coming out of playing records and transitioning over to CDs.
All right.
And so I had everything queued up. 2 songs, 1 mic, 1 card, 1 job.
One job.
And I flipped the mic on and I started reading the card, and about halfway through I froze and realized, oh, there's something about turning the mic on that makes you nervous.
Of course.
You know? I mean,
once the light kicks on, wait a second.
Here we are. And I froze, and I was like, I didn't know what to say. And I was like, I'll just read the stupid card. And so I read the rest of it, and I hit the song, and I played the music. And I turned the mic off, and I was sweating like from here to here. I didn't understand. I was like, this is weird. But then, like 2 minutes later, a couple of phone calls on the phone board. I answered the phone call. They were like, hey, are you new? Who are you? What's your name again? Are you new? And I'm like, people actually are listening. And from that moment on, I knew there was instant gratification from being on the radio. Like, people
instant gratification. So that's an interesting way of phrasing it. So that's what hooked you.
It did. It was ego immediately.
Now, did it surprise you that you had people that called in and said, oh, you must be new?
Yeah.
I mean, did that sound creepy to you at first? I mean,
at first, but it also was exciting. You know, it was that. And then I realized, like, the third call that came in was actually my mom and everybody that was listening at my house. They were like, yay!
And the fact that they remember this phone number.
I know.
So these are people who go, they must have dialed in all the time. Okay,
yes.
So.
It was crazy. But I loved it. I mean, that moment of, oh, people hear you and they listen to you and they want to know you. And I thought it was the coolest thing. It was a new friend. And as I started doing it more, I just fell in love with it and fell in love with the craft of it. And that was 21 years ago.
So the fear almost went immediately away, is what you're saying.
It wasn't long. Now, people ask me, do you get nervous still? There is a moment when I turn the mic on. Every single time I turn the mic on, still today, 21 years later, where my hands get a little sweaty. It's that moment when you know what you're going to say is in front of 100,000 people. They are all listening.
I mean, it's a big responsibility.
It is.
Especially given the fact that they're inviting you into their space.
Yeah, their car, their home, wherever they are, their earbuds.
Yeah, I mean, so you say you still get nervous.
I do. Just right then, that moment. But once I start, it's a really comfortable conversation, and I have always treated it as I'm having it with a friend.
So now, when you say that, so it sounds to me that it's more than just a job. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's really comes across as a calling. Now, we've all met people who it's a job. Yeah. It's a way to pays the bills. Yeah. They get home. You've been able to take it past that. And I want to get into that down the road, but I think that's important for people to really get. This isn't just a job for you. It's what you're doing. So you started with the first station. Now that was you were on the AIM station, I assume, for baseball, and then, when New York came in, it was hard to hard to get and sound. What got you into how did it progress? I mean, so did the general manager go, "Hey, oh my God, you did a great job freezing up. We're going to put you over here."
Nice job. We're giving you a raise.
Yeah, way to go. By the way, your name is Dee.
What's funny is that I'd stayed on that Sunday shift for a while, and then I transitioned to Sunday nights, which is, at the time, was the least listened to time in radio. So, you put all your newbies on Sunday night. But
so you had like the Sunday night, like if you go back in the WKRP in Cincinnati days, you had the lights down.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, definitely. And what made it creepier or fun, I'm not sure, or both, was that the stations were actually positioned inside of a bookstore. So on one side of this strip outlet area, you would walk into the bookstore, and if you walk to the back of the bookstore where the music was lined up, you could see the radio stations in a big window. So we were really in a fishbowl and in a bookstore, It was very odd, but
Interesting entertainment.
so much.
I'm searching for a book.
People walking by. Yeah, people walking by on occasion. You know, they would think that was a one-way window, and I couldn't see them somehow. And so
That's even creepier.
Yeah,
That's like way creepy.
Yeah, there was a few like digging for gold or something. I don't know what
that would be.
I'm like, hey, I can see you.
Yeah,
Hello.
Wow.
That was fun though. So I stayed on Sunday nights, and I really liked it. And I started doing 6 to midnight, and played a lot of music, and sort of got into that groove of like music and talking, and what information. I started to learn quickly what information the listeners wanted, and that was really important to me. Like, what do they want? Like, what do they want to hear? How do I know what's important to you is also important to Lisa and important to ... And so I was like, oh, how do I talk to all of them at one time? And so I started building this craft of like learning how to talk to all of these people and somehow show them enough of me, but yet make them feel like I'm interested in them at the same time. And it just went on and on and on. I think that resonated. And because it resonated, the program director was like, all right, we're going to put you on nights all week. Great. So I went on nights all week. And
Pay raise, right?
Yeah, pay raise. Yeah. I mean, it was 5 cents more. It was great.
Yeah. It's the sweat equity you're building.
It's the sweat. I got free pizzas too. So that was, that was nice. And I still get free pizzas. I don't know. But then I went from nights to afternoon drive. And that was a big deal.
But, well, okay, so that's got to be, you're talking about the nerves coming out now. Now the audience has gone from
7
interesting people at night who I don't know why they're, didn't have a TV.
Right. Why are you listening to the radio?
Yeah. Can't afford a TV. Something's wrong. Didn't pay the cable bill, whatever it is.
Exactly.
Now you're in drive.
And
now you're, to your point, your audience has now grown exponentially.
Yeah. Quadrupled.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So.
Yeah, and drive time was fun, and it was nerve-wracking, but it was fun. And I learned, when I started doing drive time, I learned that I actually loved that thrill of excitement of, I have to do this in 30 seconds, or I have to do this in 1 minute, or I have to, I know I can only talk for 15 seconds when I'm talking up the intro of a song, or I'm talking into this, or I'm talking into that. And then add on all these elements for drive time that were really cool. Like, I've got a weather guy, and I've got a traffic guy, and I've got a news guy. And
Before it wasn't just you.
No, and I've got all these guys, and it was really cool. And what made it even better for me was that even now, 21 years later, I'm still a minority in a radio station, being a female, leading a show. I was definitely then. And it was me and, 12 other guys, and so I was very proud of that. And I think doing that and having confidence within that and climbing that ladder continuously kind of showed everybody around me that none of that scared me. None of that made me shy away from what I was doing. I was still very strong on the mic, and they all sort of fell in beside me and said, she's good, let's ride along.
So, you mentioned your 21 years.
Yeah.
And you mentioned about that instant gratification when the light came on. And it just dawned on me, in your 21 years, you didn't, drive time back in the day, there was no cell phones.
Nope. No Facebook, no Instagram.
So you're talking about getting that instant gratification. You're trying to get people to pull over on the side of the road to find a payphone.
Oh, I know.
To call in.
Isn't that crazy?
So think about that.
It's crazy.
That has to be one of the biggest, when you think about that. I remember listening to the radio back in the day when contests would happen, and you're telling your mom, pull over.
Right. Yeah. We have to call them.
We got to call them right now.
They're asking for requests.
Yeah. So
yeah.
How did that change that? Did you cause an accident?
I hope so. but not in a bad way.
Yeah, how do you grab people's attention enough where now it's, okay, I'm in the car, okay.
You can voice text.
Whatever it is, to get someone to actually call in during drive time, if it was DC traffic.
Yeah.
That's got to be, you got to work hard to do that.
You got to work hard to do that. I think that gave me more pride in it. Actually being in radio, when we were playing records and switched over to CDs and before we had automation and all of that. It was all manual, and it was cool. Like, you made it all happen, in there. You did it all. You had to like spin all the stuff all at the same time. And then to also get the listener to do something, to interact with you, that took a lot. So I had a lot of pride in that when they did, And so because I worked so hard for it then, I think it then became easier for me as things got easier technology-wise. And now, of course, it's crazy easy for listeners to interact with you. But then it was a big deal when the phone rang. And
you're like going,
it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's traffic or whatever, you're going to do that. So, you said the technology change, and that's a big one.
Yeah.
What is the worst thing that's happened in that station? I mean, what's the worst? I mean, obviously you worry about power going out, but you got generators.
Yeah.
But you're working with technology, and technology fails
all the time.
So what is that moment where you're just like, the moment you fear?
Yeah.
Which is obviously, I'm going to take a guess, is dead air. But then the other thing is, what's the biggest catastrophe that's happened other than you forgetting,
forgetting what you're supposed to say, or gosh, you always hate it when the music stops, like, for any reason. Now it's because the computer's frozen, but then it was because the record was skipping, the CD was scratched, whatever. And so you hated that because, like, if that happened, you're realizing all these people are listening to a song they probably like, and they're jamming out to it, and then they're just like, you were halfway done. Yeah, it's just I don't know. I hate that. I hate starting a song over or having to, like, turn the mic on and be like, hey, sorry.
Now, so it's not, because I think of that, hey, mic's off. I've got 5 minutes of rest. I can think what's going on.
Yeah.
But you're still listening to that radio.
You have to.
And then that way, then all of a sudden it's like, wait, whoa, what happened?
What happened? Exactly. No, that's probably, like, my worst is I don't like it when music stops in the middle for whatever technical problem. But I don't know. Other than that, when I'm not paying attention to how much time is left on a song and I've just taken a bite of something. And I thought I had a minute and a half, ends up I only had like 30 seconds. Next thing you know, the song's ending and I've got like 2 bites of food in my mouth, and I'm just, what do you do? Because it's going to stop after that. So you have to do something.
Something's got to give.
Something's got to go. I have once, years ago, I took a very large bite of a burger right before I thought I had time, and I didn't. And the music stopped, and I did not have anything ready to play, and I knew I had to talk. There was no other choice. The burger had to come out in the trash over there, and
oh, wow.
So you got to sacrifice somewhere.
Well, that's because you're all in.
I'm a professional.
You're a professional.
I'm a professional.
So. You brought up, obviously, the burger had to go.
Yeah.
Which brings up, you got to go. So, we've all had those days where, you've had either too much coffee or you've had too much the night before. Right. And you're getting there early. You have to be. I mean, it doesn't matter what your biology is telling you. You have to be ready to go.
Yes.
That's got to be tough.
Yes, that can be interesting.
Because you have to be on all the time.
You have to be on. I have been known to, unfortunately, be in the bathroom too long once or twice on occasion. Because you time it out in your head.
Yeah.
I've got X amount of time, and I know I've got this, and then you get in there, things happen, life, and
doors get locked,
right? And all of a sudden I realize, I'm out of time. I'm still washing my hands. I have run down the hallway, pants still undone, belt undone, to get to the mic, knowing I've got 5 seconds.
So everyone in the station just is they're like, what's that? Professional.
It's fine. They've seen me running.
That's the professional.
Yeah, I've been mid-conversation many, many, many times with people and had to stop and run. And they know. They just know.
Yeah, it's just got to go.
Yeah.
What was that? That was just...
It's fine. She's got to go.
Record's over. Her clock went off on a second.
She's supposed to be on right now.
And then talk about being sick.
Yeah.
Or having a bad day. I mean, we all have bad days. Things go wrong in all of our lives.
Right.
But people don't really get that you have those.
People don't think I have any.
Because, I know for here at the dealership, I tell our team members will say, they'll be having a bad day, and I'll say, clients don't know you are.
Yeah.
And some don't care.
Right.
Because you're there to take care of them.
Yeah.
People look to you to take care of their day
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form. So how hard is that sometimes?
Sometimes it's really hard. I'm gonna be honest. Like I remember one of the hardest times I've had was right before my 40th birthday, big birthday, you know, and it was probably 5-6 days before my dog passed away.
Okay,
and it was a big deal, and I literally could not, and it was like right at the weekend that it happened, so I took Monday off to sort of try to continue to deal with that. And I get back on Tuesday thinking, okay, I'm good. And I get into like the first 2 or 3 breaks of the show, and I'm realizing I'm crying and still talking, and I, you know, tears just coming out, and I wasn't ready. And I thought, well, crap, you know. So I try now, I've learned over the years to lean into that and be honest about it instead of hiding it. Because somebody else has also lost their dog, and somebody else has also lost their family member, or lost, you know, or has gone through something, you know, tragic or whatever. So if I say at some point, you know, I'm having a horrible day, just so you know, and man, I just lost my dog a few days ago, and I'm really struggling with it, but we're going to get through the day, and we're going to get through the show, and I know a lot of you have things going on too, and you've got to keep going, put one foot in front of the other. And I sort of just try to take it back to the listener and relate to them and say, I know some of you are going through the same
But doesn't that honesty makes a difference, I would think. I mean, I would say that, you know, if we can all look at that, you know, those lifestyles of people on TV or whatever and go, oh my God, they're perfect.
Yeah.
They're never perfect.
So never perfect. No, they're never perfect.
And I think when you can relate to someone that would make a difference. Why do you think some people are afraid to do that then?
I think because you know, you get embarrassed to share something sometimes, or you don't want people to think you're weak. You know, I think people are like, well, I've got to get a job done. I don't want people to think, I don't want people to feel sorry for me all day, and I don't want people to, you know, are you okay? And blah, blah, blah. And I've just learned I can still do my thing and still try to be there for you, the listener, and still tell you sometimes I'm having bad days. I mean, my mom's been going through cancer treatment for over a year, and some days when I know she's going to get treatment that day, that's a hard day for me. And a lot of several hours during the show, I'm texting with her and still doing the show, and texting with her and still doing the show. And she just got her blood work. Okay, great. And she just went back to get the infusion. Okay, great. And those are tough days. I mean, those are really tough days. And I try to share that somewhere along the way on the show, or mention it somewhere, or write it on Facebook, or, you know, something where people can say, oh my God, I'm going through that too. Or, because, you know, they know I'm not weak, and I can share that, and they know that actually sharing that makes me stronger, and so somehow we unify in it. I don't know. It feels better.
Asking for help is not a sign of weakness.
Exactly.
Asking for help is a sign of intelligence.
Exactly.
You know, trying to go through something by yourself is that's the problem.
Yeah.
You mentioned Facebook.
Yeah.
Which really it goes into my next thing, talking about your fans and your listeners.
Yeah.
And now you've got social media. So now you've got the ability to capture them for the, okay, here's the 20-second break. I mean, the 60-second, whatever that break is going to be. Now you've got 15, 20 minutes of other time. Mm-hmm. You've been able to do a really good job of taking that engagement into that second realm where people can interact with you or interact with the show on a different level.
Yeah.
How much of a game changer was that, and what made you realize it was going to be big?
Oh my gosh. I remember like 11 years ago, somewhere in there, I sat down with the team at B101.5, and I said, you know, we've got to like up this Facebook game, like seriously. And I sat down with my manager and I was like, let's come up with some guidelines. Like, how do we post? How many times do we post? What do we say? How do we relate to them? You know, and let's all try to like follow this guideline and see how it goes.
And now you're speaking stuff that people are going,
I know.
What?
And I didn't even really know It's not like I had a Facebook degree. I didn't know. What I knew was I took what I've done over the years with the listeners on air, how to get them to react on the phone, how to get them to react on whatever during a contest or at an event how can we use this medium where, Sally might not be listening to us right now, but she might be on Facebook.
So how did everyone, when you said that to people, again, you're now speaking in some foreign language to people who are traditional radio people who've been in it since the dawn of AM stations or 2 tin cans and a string. How do you start? I mean, how did you really get into their heads about doing it? Because you had to have a pushback.
Oh gosh, yes. And there were a lot of people who were like, "Oh, we don't want to do that." I didn't want to do it either.
Well, of course you didn't, because this is new. It's different.
New,
I don't know what
weird. I know. People are all up in your business.
What? I gotta post a photo. I mean, no one ever sees me.
The
what?
videos.
Yeah,
I
video.
know.
No.
Oh, I was horrified by it. I was just like, I've spent this long doing my show where people would only have to listen to me. I don't want them to judge me for what I look like. Oh, that's what you look like.
Oh, I can come in at 4 a.m. to do my show, and no one knows that I didn't feel like doing my hair this week.
I have a hat on.
I
have pajama pants on. Leave me alone. It's
my shirt has rips and holes. Whatever.
But Facebook changed it all, and I knew once Facebook was happening, and we started following those guidelines of sort of like, okay, let's try it this way, and we all got on board. The on-air staff, everybody got on board. The news people, everybody was like, okay, this is how we're going to try to execute this. And as we would execute it, then we would go back and analyze it. Okay, we had this many likes on this kind of post. We had this much interaction on this kind of post. And so we sort of changed how we did things according to how they reacted. And as much as I didn't like the pictures and the video, and of course now the live, everything you can do live.
Oh, yeah.
As much as I didn't like that at first, people loved it, and they still love it.
And so for a junkie off of this instant gratification, it had to be like,
it was wonderful.
Like someone just gave you a new drug. Like,
I know.
Oh.
It was like, oh, this is a whole new level, and it was just an addition to what we were doing already, and people loved it, and they responded, and they interacted, and they were like, oh, wow, look at you, look at the studio, it was giving them a look into what, you were already giving them like a movie in your mind, and it was just like, okay, well, it's not in my mind anymore, I can actually see it, which made it kind of cool for a lot of people. So I don't know, it grew the base, and it continues, even though Facebook has now branched into Instagram and YouTube and
now digital, you've got the digital channels and whatnot that goes into it.
Yeah.
So when you start to look at this, the one thing I want to ask is, so who inspires you? So we all have that inspiration or that thing. So you've got all this success going. Something has had to drive that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I've had a lot of inspiration. I continue to. My mom inspires me all the time. She is like the epitome of strength. And like I mentioned, she's been going through cancer treatment for well over a year now, and still full-time teacher, and still never misses a day of work, and just rocking it out. And
Where's she teach at?
She teaches at a private school in Richmond.
Okay.
And
which one?
She's phenomenal. It's called Buford Road.
Okay.
And she's phenomenal. And she's great with kids, and she's always been a teacher all my life. She was my teacher when I was a kid. And so she's just great. She inspires me to get up and do it. Like,
isn't it amazing? Teachers are, when you go back, teachers are the best salespeople in the world.
No doubt.
Because you're selling education.
Selling anything, just about.
They're the best communicators in the world because they have to teach to all these different things.
Right.
And we look at them and we go, what?
Right.
It's not, you, as a teacher, you're encompassing almost every job hat known to man. Organizer,
They're amazing. I thought for a while I might want to be a teacher just because I grew up in her shadow of that. And I guess to some level I sort of, have a branch of that, which is cool. But yeah,
you just have a much bigger classroom.
I do have a big classroom.
Yeah.
And on occasion I pull out the teacher kind of persona in my stuff just to be funny. I mean, I think I said it on the show today, right? We were getting ready to start our fun little game. I was like, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. And it's just, crisscross applesauce.
There you go.
It's fun. And so I sort of lean on that. But she's been a really big strength for me. And then the inspiration for the last, years, 5, 6, 7 years, I don't know how long it's been now, has been my boss, Mark Bass. He is my biggest fan, and he is...
But that goes without saying.
He's my biggest supporter.
He comes around, talks about you all the time.
He lets me do anything. You know, he lets me just, like, share me to the world, and he's so proud of me, and he's so proud of having a female-led morning show, and he's just a huge supporter, and he fans that flame all the time. So I couldn't ask for anything better than that. And then my significant other is wonderful in my life, and she's like a rock star, putting up with my schedule, and
that has to be tough.
Yeah. Oh, the schedule's horrible.
I mean, I would go deeper than that. I mean, and I don't want, obviously I don't want to go too far if you don't want to, but finding time to have a personal life.
And we have kids, and they're...
Oh, now you add kids to it. I mean, that's
and they're adult kids. I mean, she has 2 wonderful children, and they're just college and second year into college. So, I mean, it's a lot. And we, life milestones, college and all of that, and 21 years old, and I'm only 25, which is weird.
Oh, yeah.
But, no, it is. The schedule is the hardest part, because I get up in the middle of the night. I wake everybody up just about, and I try not to, I tiptoe around, but I stay up really late so I can hang out with them and, have a life. And so I sleep 2 parts in the day and break it up so I can have that. But it's worth it to me. And because of that, I, sacrifice on the sleep schedule, she's always trying to help me, just say, hey, what can I do? Where can I be? How can I? She's just a big fan.
That support's incredibly important. If you don't have that base,
yeah,
it's almost impossible to do what you do.
Yeah, it's huge. But I love them. I love my family life, and as crazy and chaotic as it is with the schedule, we still have a great time. We've still made it through this pandemic year, and and we just made it through our children's carathon, and so yeah.
So when you're looking at when you've got that's a good support network,
yeah.
you've got a great support network from work. Where does that lead you to? Where do you see the future of radio going for you and for everyone else?
So, podcasts are so huge now, and as we are on one right now. And we have several at the radio station, and I've been really enjoying getting into that realm of this outlet of podcasts. I think radio is embracing podcasts in a bigger way now, and finding that it really helps the growth of the station. I think people were afraid of that at first, It was sort of like they were afraid, when satellite radio came around, they were like, oh my God, radio's going to stop and end forever. This is going to be horrible. We're all going to lose our jobs. And I was scared for a minute too. We were all just like, oh, people can listen to this same station like in Virginia and in California and never change the station.
The Walmart of radio.
It's just like, how do you compete with that? Commercial free, and how do you compete with any of that as a local radio station who relies on sponsorships and events and commercials and stuff like that? How do you compete with that? And then we realized very quickly that we had the one thing that satellite would never have, and that is local.
Or it's also you.
And it's the personality.
So I'm calling it out there. I'm not trying to stroke your ego in this.
But it's true.
It's you.
It's true. And so it's the same thing for podcasts. And I think it gave everybody a little bit of a, at first when it started blowing up and people were like, ooh, podcasts are going to take over the world and run us all out of business. And then we're like, no, what if we did podcasts? And so we just dove in, and it's been really fun, and people really respond to it. And a lot of our shows that we do on B101.5 translate over to a podcast, and then shows that we never have on the station, we have as podcasts. So people love it, and we've just started to use it as another tool to say, hey, we can be over here too, and check this out, because we can talk longer, and we can, widen our sort of topics.
But we're in an information age. I mean, people are able to consume information. I mean, we talk in one regard how we only have an 8-second or 7-second attention span.
Right.
But we have phones on, we've got TVs on, we've got computers.
All at the same time.
Everything all going on, and we are consuming information.
I know.
I think that's an amazing opportunity that you all have.
It is. It really is. And people get sucked in. It's like, podcasting is like binge watching a TV show, and I'm probably on the 7th run of The Office. Like, I'm the 6th of Parks and Rec. Like, I love it. When you love something and you love the characters and you love the storyline and you love all of that, like, people come back and come back and come back, and they might listen to the same episode again because they liked it, and it's huge. I mean, and so I think it's going more in that direction, and I think that's nothing but good for radio. Like, there's no negativity there. There's no like, we're going to take away from this in order to get to this. It really can be all under the same umbrella.
So the question I would ask then is music as important as it used to be? When you're looking at the ability to interact with your audience, is music becoming the break between the interaction where it was supposed to be the reason why they're there?
Right.
But now music is just that, if you look at other, progressive Howard Stern, which we talked earlier.
Yeah.
It was little talk, a lot of music.
Yeah.
And it just slowly, that music started going the other way. And now the music is just what starts his segment or ends his segment, and when he's, whatever's going on.
That's it. It's bumper music now.
Is that really what you see that podcast is doing, that people are realizing they can get their iPod, I mean, they can download the music if they want to listen to it. They can't download, you're not on demand.
Exactly.
Well, you could be, but
exactly.
But you're not.
Right. And, I think you're right. I mean, my program director's going to hate me for saying this. And I love you, Chuck. But they can get Lady Gaga anywhere. They can get Katy Perry anywhere. They can get all of it anywhere. I mean, anywhere, any of it, all the time, anytime, for free.
And if they want to listen to the same song over and over again, go to town.
They can, absolutely. So, yes, I agree with you, which is why, I'm 13 years into this morning show here, and if you would have asked me that 12 years ago, I would have been like, no, well, they come for the music, and I'm just a nice addition. That would have been my take on it. Over that time frame, I have learned very quickly they're coming for me, and they enjoy the music. And
I would say that you're
completely flip-flop.
And what's funny to me is I think about my time listening to radio as I've grown up. I remember listening to Don and Mike, or all these different guys.
Yeah.
Those were the fun parts of the radio. The music was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the music going to swim practice, going, oh my God. And now I hear that music and I go, I remember getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to swim practice. The
memories it brings back.
Yeah, it's like 80s music now just makes me think I got to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning. But I remember the segments and the fun that they had. Mm-hmm. And then, listening to them grow up and me grow up, and then, obviously, the accident that happened to up there to one of his kids, which was terrible.
Yeah.
But I think that is the important part to remember, is that that's why you listen.
It is, yeah. It's the personality. And I think, when I was growing up, it was like you had that moment to hear your favorite song, and then you may hear it again tomorrow. So the moment, you had your boombox and you recorded it, and it was like, oh, there it is, boom.
Yeah.
And you got it, and then you have it on your mixtape, and then you can play it anytime you wanted, but then you'll catch it again tomorrow, and that was cool. Now it's like I can just be like, hey, Siri, and, boom, it's there. And that's totally different than it was then. So now, because it's so available, I think it has flip-flopped. And I think people are drawn to the personality much more, which is why 12 years ago, my talk breaks were about 1.5 to 2.5 minutes. And now they're about 8 to 10.
Which is huge.
It's huge.
It's a huge difference in what goes, and it's a huge difference for you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go here. You're doing it by yourself.
Honk, honk.
Yeah, exactly. With Pohanka. You're doing it by... You like that one?
I did like that. That was good, actually. That was good.
You're doing this by yourself.
Yeah.
You had hosts, which I cannot even imagine what having a bad co-host is like.
Yeah.
That's got to be worse.
I've had them.
That's going to be worse than a bad marriage.
Yeah, it is.
Or a bad relationship. Because
because the marriage, you can sleep in a separate bed for a minute. You know, you can still be in the same house and function, and like go in the other room or go for a walk. On a morning show, you still have to be in the room together. You can't.
It's uncomfortable.
You can't leave. I mean, the first.
And you can't kill them because clearly
you can't.
You can't.
I mean, unless you're trying to get ratings that way. But I just feel like that's
the one-time help though.
It's not
broadcasting from jail. Hi.
It's fun until the police show up, and then
it's just awkward.
It's just bad. No, my co-host Chris that I had the first 6 years, he was fantastic, and we had a great relationship, and we were friends, and we hung out, outside of the show, and I made sure of that before we started, Chris and Dee, and I said, look, I cannot be. I've had co-hosts, and he had co-hosts, we had been married before, and so we knew. We were like, we can't be uncomfortable. So we made sure of that before we started the show. And we were good. And then he just went in a different direction. And I knew that he was going to be there for about that time frame. And
so that's like losing a spouse. That's
It was sad. Oh yeah, we cried the last day, and we still talk and text. I just texted him yesterday. And he's in Atlanta now doing some really great things in radio down there. And I missed him for the time, but what the show morphed into after that, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, it's been phenomenal, and the listeners have rallied and really just blossomed behind me, and I couldn't ask for anything better. So it was what they wanted, it was what I wanted, and he got what he wanted, and
which is always good. But I just can't imagine. Like I said, I just can't imagine just looking across at someone at work, just going, oh my God, could you please get sick?
It's so bad.
And go home.
I know. It's so bad. It's really bad. And especially because every hour is different on a show. You try to make that hour an island of its own, and you have different listeners every hour generally. People are going to work and you had them for this time and they move on. But so every hour you're making decisions together, so if you've got a co-host making decisions with you on topics or direction or where to go or what fun game to play or whatever, and they're just like on an opposite page of you, it's maddening. It's maddening because then you try something and it failed, and they're like, see, I told you so, that was stupid. See?
Oh, which yeah, it's like,
and then you argue.
That's exactly what I wanted.
Oh, it's bad, yeah.
Well, but the benefit is that you do have someone there that can help you when you're having a bad day.
Yeah.
But that's really, I could see where that would just be.
Yeah.
Because you can't exactly. Finding that person, I think, would be very difficult. Which is just like finding a person to do any of your shows would be difficult.
It is difficult, and I'm as much as I did enjoy the company or having the help, at the same time, I'm so glad I don't have to run my topics by anyone and or anything. I mean, I call all the shots, and I produce the whole show, and I pick the direction, and I pick the games, and all I have to do is answer to my biggest fan, my boss. So I mean, we're good.
Which is exactly what you would want to do. Yeah. So which that can make sense. So when you start to look at what COVID has done.
Yeah. Ooh.
So COVID has definitely changed radio listenership, drive time.
Yeah.
All of that's happened.
Yeah.
Now, your biggest fan was in here, talking you up about how you still seem to have your morning crew who loves you. Talk about that.
Yeah, this has been an interesting, sad, weird year. I mean, it just really has. I remember, when we first started getting into the meat of the situation, in March, in April, we were all very nervous and scared, and what do we do, and how do we respond to this, and things started getting shut down, and we were so hopeful, I think, just like everybody else. Okay, this is going to last for 3 weeks, and then we're going to be good. Mm-hmm. And everybody's going to back to normal. It's going to be fine. And then it wasn't fine. And places started closing down, and we started losing business as a station, and clients started freaking out, and they had to close their business, and we're like, what? Wait, how do we do this? I don't even know how we do. Where do we don't know when this is going to end. It's like the tragic event that you thought was going to be done, and we would all start rallying together for hope, 2 days later or 2 months later, or oh my God, it's what month now, and we're still.
Oh yeah, but that's not in our DNA.
Yeah.
We made for all of our fighting and infighting, and I don't believe in this. Our typical American DNA is okay. We got to figure a way to get.
We got to figure it out.
We got to figure it out and move on.
Yeah, and we did. And my first reaction was to our clients and other businesses that had not partnered or done business with us really, and I was really worried about them. And so my first order of business was, how can I help you? That was my first order. And how much can I get away with at the radio station of giving out free advertising?
Yeah.
That was literally my first order of business. And so I went to Mark and I said, we have to do something. And he was like, whatever you feel like is right, do it. And I just ran with it. And I said, okay, well, I'm just going to open up the show and let people talk about their business and say if they're still open, if they're closed, if they're doing curbside, if they're doing whatever. If they just want people to pray for them,
you're saying this, and it's exactly. I mean, those are things we're going through business owners' minds.
Yeah, I just felt urgent with it. I felt urgent, and I felt responsible that I had a microphone for people listening. A lot of people listening. I wanted to do something, and sometimes that's literally the thing I come back to is like, I have a microphone. Let me help you.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's literally all I have to give, other than like a pat on the back or my caring word or an email or a text. But I'm thinking, I also have a microphone. Can I help somehow? And if I can, I do. And so that's what we did. We started the local business spotlight immediately, and we just said, hey, just email if you want to be on the radio and talk about your business in whatever form. And they would email me, and I would get names, and I would set them up to call me at the end of the show immediately. So they'd call me at like 10, and I'd take these calls from 10 to 11. I'd give them 3, 4, 5 minutes to talk about their stuff, and I would talk to them the whole time and, kind of help them through that. Some people who had never been on the radio, never even, talked about their business in a public way, very nervous, so I wanted to help them through that. Mm-hmm. and sort of, okay, well, let's give out your phone number and your website and where are you? And we did that, and oh my God, I mean, it was, the response, of course, was, I don't even know, made my heart grow 4 sizes bigger, I think, because it was a lot. It was a lot of businesses and a lot of anxious business owners and a lot of people that I was very happy to be able to help them in that moment. And we aired those, I recorded it, and we put it together in a nice little package, and we aired those for like, I want to say almost 2 months, just like getting the names of the businesses out there.
But that's an incredibly important lifeline.
Yeah.
When you look at how service-oriented our workforce really is.
Right.
I mean, there's very few production-level jobs. There's very few. Yeah. Everything is service-oriented, whether it's a server, whether it's servers are the first ones that come to mind. All the servers, you've got the people coming to housemaid, all of these things. Yeah. It's all personal services.
It is, yeah.
It's a lot less of that production.
Yeah.
And look at there's a lot of these restaurants are closing.
Yeah. A lot of them couldn't do carry out or couldn't do, it just didn't make sense for them, or they just didn't have the staff to be able to do it because they couldn't pay the staff, and so. And
then the fees that are being charged them from Uber and DoorDash were just too much for them on that.
Yeah.
Then and then of course we had BLM and all the George Floyd things that have come in.
Yes.
It's made it even more interesting. So you have this platform, and you've got these social things that come into play.
Yeah.
How does that affect what you do? Or let me phrase it. How hard is it to make some of those choices? Because you do want to be helpful. You have a microphone. How hard is it to not be able to help every group to the extent that you would like to?
Yeah, that's difficult because you do have to stop doing the local business spotlight at some point in the way that you did it. We did have to start making some money on our own and having people pay for advertising and the ones that could, and we adjusted things so that people could afford it, so we could still help them in a different way. And it was hard. And then for for the very understandable, justifiable, loud cry of grief to come about in such a public way with racial inequality, of course I wanted to give all of that a platform, and I tried to do that on the shows that I had to do it, so where I could talk more about it on long form, and I did it on my Sunday show, and I had Joshua Cole on the first time we were talking about it, and I just wanted to just say, let's just say the things. Let's just say the things. And so we did. We just said the things, and we just talked about it. And I know everybody's sort of on all kinds of different pieces of the fence for a lot of these things, but and I don't like show my show banner with a flag of this or a flag of that. I want to be loving to all people and give a platform to certainly those in need and those that need to be heard. And I don't know, that's all I tried to do. Was as difficult as it was, I was just like, let's just make it happen. And I ended up doing, for COVID and for the beginning of when the protests were sort of getting to be a little more frequent, I started doing my Sunday show live, which I don't normally do, so I can have a day off. But I did it live during that time for, God, I don't even know how long, months. And I had Ted Schubel come in and do it with me to cover a lot of the COVID stuff. And that was important. And I think people knew the urgency of that, and they saw me work harder in the moment, even though it was a tough time to work harder and longer and more hours, but at the same time it was needed. So it was like, you balance it out, and the listeners respond to it, and they liked it. And I feel like, I feel like it was good for them.
So, you're doing all that, and when you start to look at local news, it's really gone away.
Yeah.
And now we've got all of this news that's affecting everyone's daily lives.
Yeah.
That's now even more important, don't you think?
It is. And I have to say, one thing I'm super proud of with B101.5 is that we have never gone away from local news, and we've always kept that. This is such an interesting market, in Fredericksburg. It's like, we have pieces, our signal at the station is huge. So we have pieces of the Richmond market, we have pieces of the DC market, which I love. So we basically have 3 markets in our listening audience. And so one thing we've always tried to do is stay local and regional with our news. And we don't have a TV station here. So it was so important that we keep the local news and that we keep it, at the forefront and put it in. And people love it still, and they need it still, and they want it still. And so I think we do a great job of putting the news out there on all of our platforms and keeping that super local. But at the same time, I think we also try to gauge the public, and that sometimes people are tired of hearing about some of the stuff because it's oversaturated.
Okay, which is where I was going with
Yeah.
where I was originally. When's enough? I mean, how do you have to make that determination?
I think
And I don't want to mean it by enough as enough.
Yeah.
But it's, when do you start to sit there and go, okay, this isn't going to help the process through? I think that might be a better way of phrasing it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think when we start, we do really gauge the listeners pretty often, and so we see what they're saying on Facebook, and we see what they're texting into the studio, and we see how people are responding to shows when we put the link out and stuff like that. And I think that gives us an idea of what people want to hear about, and what I feel like we can feel when they get to the brink of like, okay, we should probably stop talking about this as much, and we dial it back. I feel like we really do try to have an ear to what they're doing and an eye to what they want. And because after all, we are trying to serve the listeners the best that we can in the best way, and be entertaining somehow at the same time.
So, switching gears a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously commercials are an important part.
So important.
What is do you sit there sometimes and you go, this is the worst commercial I've ever heard in my entire life?
I heard a Pohanka. No, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I was going to ask.
No,
I was actually just going to ask, which one of mine was it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've heard some bad commercials. Commercials are funny.
I mean, do you sit there and you listen to it and you go,
oh God, yes. I won't say which one.
I'm not asking you to because clearly that's not the right. I mean, if they're mine, you can tell me later.
They're not yours, but maybe that one. No, no, they're not. But yes, there are times, I mean, it's the same thing with television. We all have those, where your job is your credit. Or
But you go off the air and go back into the bullpen and go, who sold this?
Yeah. Oh, who wrote it?
Or who wrote it?
Who voiced it?
Or
who
what
produced it?
Did you read the copy?
A lot of questions I have sometimes. Yeah. But at the same time, it's funny because commercials are the same sort of like you have to map them out in a creative way, the same way you do a show and the content of your show and the talk breaks of your show, because the commercials have to stand out, and you want people to be like, what? So you either want to irritate them to death where they like, oh my God, that stupid commercial again, but they know it and they know the product and they know where you are. And, so it's a craft in its own. So even though it gets on my nerves or I find a commercial like, at the same time, some people love it and they remember it, and that's what matters.
But have you gotten bad copy where you're just looking at this going, and you're reading it, and have you ever stopped going, I can't go on.
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely. I will rewrite something in a minute. Because I've been in the business long enough where I know they probably don't want to say that, or that's going to sound stupid. I have chased down salespeople to rewrite something for me, called them at their homes to say, this is horrible. Can we do this again? So it just, I don't know. The perks of being in this business this long, I have a little bit of creative control. Yeah,
well, I mean, we always think who's going to be who's the last person to look at this, the checks and balances.
I know, right?
And, you don't ever want, you want to have that wingman who's not going to let you jump off the cliff. But sometimes people just go, no, that's really what I want to say. That's
what I want to say. And you say, well, get someone else to voice that. Or maybe that's just me. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't want to have my voice on things. Actually, that's really important to me. I mean, I do try very hard to not have my name on something and my voice on something unless I'm okay with that. And that's important. I mean, I've had people over the years, as you can imagine, ask for me to endorse products and, stand behind them. And I've endorsed a handful, and that is it.
I would say that endorsing, there are people out there who will endorse anything for $1.
Yeah.
And then there's people who won't. And I think that makes a difference.
It does.
And so the big thing that you have is this coffee.
Yeah. Yes, I did have coffee, which they're no longer making now. But, yeah.
So what led you to jump into that?
Well, morning coffee,
just
sort of. And I love coffee. I mean, love it. I mean, I drink it all day, pretty much. To the point where
Juan Valdez is on your...
Yes, it's ridiculous how much coffee I drink. And even, it doesn't even matter anymore. Like the caffeine level, it doesn't even matter. I drink a lot of it. But I actually love really good coffee. Like, I really do like to try different flavors and blends. And we've got the grinder at home. We grind the beans and the French press. And
I absolutely hate coffee.
Do you really?
Never enjoyed coffee.
You're suspect.
Wait, this gets better.
Do you drink alcohol?
Rarely.
Okay. Wow. Do you curse?
Oh, like a sailor.
Okay.
Like the sailor my
dad. There was gonna be something.
Like the sailor my dad raised me. Like the sailor my dad raised me as.
Nice.
But I have 3 coffee makers in my house for people who come in, and they go, and I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever that's there, Keurig, Nespresso, this other thing, whatever. I've used it for hot chocolate.
That's fantastic.
So I'm looking to unload some coffee makers. So if you know anybody who needs an extra Nespresso,
I'll always take one if you want.
I mean, it is. So yeah, it's not.
I love coffee. I absolutely love it. I mean, I wake up. I sleep in the afternoon too. For an hour or two, and I have someone to get up, and I like some of the dessert, and I love coffee.
Well, it's good to love something like that.
Yeah,
right?
So I knew that would be a good fit, for me to have my own coffee. And I had to find the right company, and I had to find the right blend, and I made sure I liked it a lot.
So why don't you just do your own and just skip the middleman, and not worry about it?
I could. That would take a lot of extra time, I think, on my part, or
there are
someone.
There are co-packagers that will do anything.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
You tell them the recipe.
Yeah.
They'll do it. You don't need the middleman on that.
That's very true. I'm texting Mark now.
Yeah. Hey, guess what I've decided to do?
Exactly. We're gonna do our own extra room in the back. We can do this. No,
hey, there's plenty of land back there.
No,
you can start growing some beans.
We have a lot of.
But you did for charity.
Yeah, I did. I try to do everything for something that's good. I mean, yeah, I did it for charity, and that's a big deal. I mean, I've really stood behind the Children's Hospital here almost my whole show. I mean, I've been a big supporter of that, and I try to tie just about everything I do into, going back to raising money for that and not spread myself too thin between charities. I mean, there are a lot of charities I love, and
there's a lot. I mean, I know that when we look at the groups that we have supported here, and you meet them and you're like going, okay, how can I do more?
Oh, I know.
And it's the work that so many people do here. It's the small groups that do big work.
Oh, it's huge.
And I have a good, well, you've met the Birches. Mm-hmm. And I keep telling them that they're my gateway to heaven. I'm just going to keep helping them because of everything that they do.
Right.
I mean, without them.
Right.
But Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
And, I went there when I was young because obviously I had something that went wrong. It's a heartbreaking place to go visit, though, at times. I mean, it's a great place of hope when you go through it.
It is, yeah. And it's a beautiful hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
But then you've got that little bit of heartbreak that goes into it. But the strength that you pull out of it when you look at the people who are there, that is the most amazing thing. Is you see the problems and you're like, oh my God. But you see these just amazing stories from the kids to the people working there.
Yeah.
That's got to be an awe-inspiring thing for you to work with them.
It's massive. I mean, I had never been in a hospital like that before until I walked into that one, and I fell in love with what they do. Like, I fell in love with the fact that they made this hospital strictly for children. They made it with children in mind in every corner, and the walls and the dogs and the art therapy and the way that the nurses are and the teams are. It's pretty unbelievable. The helicopter, and it's all for kids, and I can't, I don't know, it's a calling for them to be a part of that, and I meet families constantly who go to that hospital. And so for me, 7 years now raising money for that hospital has been really, really beneficial to me. It just makes me feel like a better person, and it makes me feel there are things that are going on that are so much bigger than the little things in my life or the little things that I worry about or stress about, and those are the heroes, like doing stuff like that every day and researching kids' cancer and researching how to not have to cut into a kid to give them surgery for something they could do a different therapy for, and watching them, from a distance, obviously operate on little teeny tiny preemie babies and things like that, the equipment it takes. I don't know. It's something, and it's a really special place. So it really resonated with me. And then my partner and I, her son had to go there and still is a patient there for Crohn's, and we spent a lot of time in that hospital, so I got to know it up close and personal, and I got to see all of that in action, and that made me want to raise money for them more. So
Hyundai's been big with we donate money every year through the pediatric cancer, and you just see the work that they do, and it's utterly amazing.
It's amazing.
Dee, thank you.
Of course, this was fun.
I mean, I will tell you, I woke up this morning and I was like going, oh my God, I have my questions in my head.
Yeah.
And I have probably 5 more, and I don't want to keep you here the rest of the day because I know you got to get your nap in.
I'm so tired. I haven't had a cocktail yet. It was the end of my day, and I was a little surprised you guys didn't have something here for me.
Well, we thought about it, but then we just would have gone much further because then I would have started to drink, and once I start, that's the reason why I try not to, because it intensifies your personality.
It really does.
And I could be a little crazy.
This is why my boss encourages me to drink before the show.
Now that I know that, then I may actually have to knock on the door at 4 a.m. and go,
see?
Hey,
it intensifies.
I know you didn't want to co-host, but how about just like a drop-in? I'm just here just
Is
to...
that a position, the drop-in?
I don't know. I mean, everyone needs a yes man. I can
That's
just go,
so true.
I can just sit there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's right.
You could be the absolutely guy.
Exactly.
You remember the absolutely kid on TV? That you look him up. He's really funny. And
Okay.
I think he was being interviewed. It was a news story from I don't even know what state, but during the interview he said absolutely like 900 times. And what do you think about absolutely?
Absolutely.
You could be the absolutely guy.
I could probably do that. I always go back to one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen Tom Cruise do was in Tropic Thunder.
Oh yeah.
His Les Grossman character.
Oh yes.
But what
yes.
made Les Grossman funny was the guy behind him,
Mm-hmm.
who every time he would say, it's a G6, he'd go, airplane. Yeah. And that's what I would want to do. So when you were talking to somebody, I would just come back and do I would just be doing that side emphasis in the background, when you're going.
Yeah, you need that.
When you're talking to Jimmy Powell about furniture,
Yes.
and I go, on sale. That's what I would want to do.
Today only.
Today only. Yeah.
No,
Gotta sit in something comfortable.
Yeah, you gotta have that guy.
That would be the guy I'd want. I wouldn't want to add anything else to
I'm
I don't
sure.
think I could add anything else to the show. It would be like, do you have an idea? No, I'm just here to steal yours. So.
No, Robert, my traffic guy, would be that for me. Like he's so funny. He's always in the background.
So now I have no job.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Well, so much for that.
There was that dream for like.
Well, I can always Tanya Harding.
He's so good. He's so good with that though. Like he's always in the background making noises, just like I'm hearing you noises. Like he's just always like. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you need
You
that.
need that. I love it.
You need that like.
Right. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And now that he's been working from home during COVID, so he's actually broadcasting his traffic stuff from home, and his dog chimes in all the time now because he's working from home. It's fantastic.
Well, that actually, when you say it, the funniest part about my business now is we have all of these Zoom meetings, is watching these kids
Yeah.
go through the back of their
sure.
Zoom meeting,
Yeah.
and them just go.
Yeah, the at-home stuff is become quite.
Yeah, I love
interesting.
myself a good vendor call trying
Yeah.
to sell me something online, and their kids start asking questions. Makes me laugh. It's like, oh my god, it's real. It's been
It's
happening.
real.
I mean, luckily I'm a empty nester. Well, no, I'm not anymore. I won't be. I have a grandchild.
Oh
on the
my
way.
God.
Yeah, welcome to my world.
Welcome, Grandpa.
Yeah, I
Love
mean,
it. Are you being called Grandpa yet, or how does that go?
I have like 12 days to figure out what I want to be called.
What are you going with?
I was thinking about going something like like a foreign name.
Love it.
And so I've kind of gone through them, and I got to figure out which one is going to be called first, because
Right.
obviously I want to be.
Oh, of course you do.
I mean, I
Yeah.
have to be egocentric in that regard.
We have all the P's in my family. Like, I don't know. I wish somebody would come up with something different. Like, I had Papa, and I think my dad's a Papa now with my nephew and my niece. But then, like, my great-grandparents were like, Papa.
Yeah, I'm staying away from. I'm trying to get into. When I'm looking at some of these, I really look at some of the Russian ones or some of the ones from Greece. So I'm looking at them, and I keep trying them out. Like
You got to say it in the baby voice a little bit just to see how it sounds.
well,
yeah.
you want the baby to be able to say it again
Of course,
first.
yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
let's
want,
hear it. How does it sound in your
how's
head?
this is going to go? And you've got that going through your head.
Yeah.
And so and then you got to go, wait a second, but then they can't find coffee mugs or stuff that says, blah. I mean, it's stress.
It is stress.
This is a stress I was not expecting, and it's there. And
It's here now.
And and I mean, and at 30, I didn't expect to have a grandchild, so
Oh, wow, yeah.
I didn't expect that. No, I hit
Yeah.
I hit 50. 50.
Did you hit it hard?
Oh, not really.
Okay.
It happened in the year of the COVID.
Yeah.
So it didn't really exist.
Did it happen?
No, yeah,
Did the tree fall? I don't think it did.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if some people, my son didn't graduate. I don't know what happened.
No, I
this
know.
year.
Yeah, no, it's true. Everything's been inside out and weird. Yeah. I don't even know how old I am now. Like this year has been, I'm pretty sure the calendar went from February something. No,
Yeah.
March something. It was St. Patrick's. Yeah.
Something right. I mean, yeah.
And then today is October.
Yeah, I don't know where the year went.
Yeah.
I don't know where the year went. I'm wondering if we're going to get it back. Yeah. Is there like, do we get the extra year? Are we going to,
It's not a portal, unfortunately.
There has been nothing about 2020 that has not been, other than the fact that we've met some great people.
Yeah.
And I truly, and I will say this, I truly believe for everything that's made us go, oh my God, the world is falling apart. There are so many other segments that show us that the world is not falling apart.
Yeah.
But dang, if they don't try really hard if they're not trying really hard.
I knew there were parts of this year that were going to be massively thrown away when I heard the words murder hornets.
Oh, yeah. Well, you knew. Yeah, once that came out, you almost want to sit there and go, okay, who's writing a bad sitcom?
Right.
Because this is starting
Murder hornets. Come on.
Well, you know, we've grown up with the whole killer bees coming out of Mexico. Now we had murder hornets coming out of Canada.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's been crazy, but the
and the cicada thing, which that seemed to just didn't really happen. I didn't receive many cicadas. So
I did. They were all at my house, Tim. I'll tell you that right now.
None of them were at mine.
I had Cicada Island in one tree outside my front house, the front door, right at the end of the sidewalk. I don't know. It seemed like there were about 9 million in there.
I will tell you this. I remember the cicadas last time when I was younger, and I remember like trash bags of these things in the yard. I remember hearing the buzz, like that hum.
Oh, it never stops either for the longest time.
Nothing.
Oh, it's crazy.
Nothing.
Yeah, it was all in my house.
I'm talking whether someone came through, and I live in the old part of Lee's Hill, whether someone dug up all the cicadas when they were putting, I have no idea. All I know is this. Nothing on the street, nothing on the ground, no hum.
Yeah.
I was like, did they decide 2020 is not the year they want to come out? They're waiting to next year.
No, they came downtown to me. So.
Well, they had to go somewhere. So, thank you very much.
You're welcome, world.
That. Dee took care of all of that for us.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thanks for being such a partner with our station and for being such a cool and interesting guy. And you do really cool things in this community. And you have such a big heart, and I'm not sure everybody knows that. And you're a lot.
Great, I'm a lot. Well, I appreciate it. No, I appreciate that. I will tell you, it's my dad said something to me years ago before he decided to semi-retire, was that the most important thing you have to remember is you have to put more back into the community than you ever take out. And I've tried to live up to that on everything that we've ever done. Is put more into the community than you ever take out.
I see that from you. I do, and I think a lot of people see that, and I have a feeling a lot of people don't even know you do that, but still know your name. And so I think it's really, really cool, the stuff that you do. And thanks for being such a cool partner with our station. And thanks for letting me come on the show.
Well, you said something earlier, and I'll come back. You said the only thing you have is a mic, or you have this mic. What can you do? And I think the same thing. I go, I have this dealership and an ad budget.
What can I do?
What can I do? Right. I mean, you know what?
Right.
How can I help out? Because I mean, we're going to spend the money to advertise it somehow.
Right.
Maybe we can find a way to make it work for everybody. So we're pretty excited about that. But again, thank you very much.
Thank you. This has been fun.
This has been fun. Thank you all for joining us at Fredericksburg Strong. I've had Dee here, and she will see you every morning in a bright, shining, happy-go-lucky face. Keep entertained. Thank you all very much.
Thanks for listening to the Fredericksburg Strong podcast. Be sure to visit fredericksburgstrong.com to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content, as well as submit a request for you or your organization to appear on one of our future episodes. See you next time with another exciting episode of Fredericksburg Strong.